The untold story of Audrey Hepburn. Behind the iconic image of grace and elegance lay a woman forged by war, haunted by abandonment, and driven by a compassion that would ultimately define her legacy more than any film ever could. The Crack in the Porcelain. Brussels, May 4, 1929. Audrey Hepburn entered a world that appeared glamorous but was already fractured. Her parents, affluent and well-connected, harbored a dark secret. They were ardent fascists who traveled to Germany to cheer at rallies for a movement history would condemn as pure evil. Then came the wound that never healed. 1935, her father simply vanished, packed his bags, moved to London to serve the fascist cause, and left his daughter behind. Years later, she would confess, "My father's departure was the most painful event of my life. Nothing could ever fill that void." That abandonment became the ghost that would haunt every relationship, every choice, every quiet moment of her extraordinary life. The girl who danced through hell. When war exploded across Europe, 10-year-old Audrey watched German soldiers storm across the Dutch border. To survive, she changed her name to Etta van Hemstra, hiding her British identity. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. This frail, pale child became a resistance fighter. Picture this. A young girl with secret messages hidden inside her ballet shoes, delivering intelligence for the Allied forces. Every step seemingly innocent, every mission potentially fatal. One mistake meant execution, yet she continued because, as she said, "Fear cannot stop you from doing what is right." But resistance wasn't her only act of defiance. Even as bombs fell, even as her country starved, Audrey danced. Underground recitals in basement shelters. A few dozen villagers sitting in silence, watching her move, not for entertainment, but to raise funds for the resistance. Then came 1944. The famine. German forces blockaded supply routes. People died of starvation in the streets. Audrey survived by eating bread made from tulip bulbs and drinking water mixed with starch. Her body withered, her ribs pressed against skin stretched thin. But her eyes? They still burned with quiet fire. The dream that broke her. Liberation came in 1945, and Audrey refused to let go of her dream. She earned a scholarship to London's prestigious Rambert Ballet Academy. Finally, she thought, her moment had arrived. Reality crushed her swiftly. Years of malnutrition had taken their toll. Her body couldn't meet the brutal demands of professional ballet. The dream that had carried her through bomb raids and starvation? Forever out of reach. But here's what separates survivors from victims. Audrey found another path. Acting, not because she craved fame. Simply because it let her do what she loved most: move, dance, and keep rhythm alive within her. The moment everything changed. 1951, Hotel de Paris, Monte Carlo. Audrey was filming a small scene when legendary French writer Colette spotted her. Colette walked up and said bluntly, "I know you think of yourself as just a child." Then she offered Audrey the lead in her Broadway play, Gigi. Within 30 days, both Broadway and Hollywood opened their doors to a woman barely in her 20s. While preparing for Gigi in New York, director William Wyler was searching for the female lead for Roman Holiday. His first choice? Elizabeth Taylor. Then he saw Audrey's screen test. Everything changed in an instant. "That's her," Wyler said. "That's the princess I need." Even Gregory Peck, one of Hollywood's biggest stars, recognized what the world hadn't yet seen. He insisted Audrey Hepburn's name be placed alongside his on the poster. An extraordinary gesture for a newcomer. Roman Holiday didn't just launch Audrey's career. It shattered Hollywood's definition of beauty. In an era dominated by the sultry curves of Grace Kelly and Marilyn Monroe, Audrey appeared like a revelation. No voluptuous figure, no seductive smile, just a tilt of her head, a gaze both shy and self-assured. And audiences were captivated. 1954, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress in her very first leading role. 3 days later, she earned a Tony Award for her Broadway performance. The timid, wide-eyed girl had become Audrey Hepburn, the embodiment of beauty, talent, and grace. But with dazzling fame came inevitable shadows. The love that couldn't last. During Sabrina, Audrey starred opposite two Hollywood legends, Humphrey Bogart and William Holden. Bogart remained distant, unimpressed, believing the role should have gone to his wife. But Holden? He fell hard. A tender romance bloomed between them. Quiet, passionate, doomed. Holden was a married man battling demons, alcohol, loneliness, the fear of fading under Hollywood's relentless lights. Audrey longed for stability and children. Then she discovered the truth. Holden had undergone a vasectomy. When he proposed, she gently refused. She chose clarity over heartbreak. Years later, it was said he never forgot her. The marriage that seemed perfect. Amidst the whirlwind, Audrey met Mel Ferrer, older, twice divorced, father of 4. Yet when they spoke, every barrier disappeared. Perhaps she saw in him the father figure she'd always craved. Someone who understood peace amid storms. September 1954, they married in Switzerland. Both believed they were beginning their happiest chapter. Fate had other plans. Shortly after the wedding, Audrey became pregnant. The news filled her with light. But in 1955, she miscarried. The loss shattered her. She hid tears behind her gentle smile, continuing to work as if her world hadn't quietly collapsed. 4 years later, hope returned. She became pregnant again during filming of The Unforgiven. Then tragedy struck. She fell from a horse, broke her back, and miscarried for the second time. This time, she nearly collapsed under grief's weight. But on July 17, 1960, she gave birth to her first son, Sean Hepburn Ferrer. As she held him, tears streamed down her face. To Audrey, he wasn't just a baby. He was a miracle earned through every pain she'd ever endured. The role that made her immortal. Less than a year later, Audrey stepped into the role that would cement her legend, Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Ironically, author Truman Capote had wanted Marilyn Monroe, not Audrey. When Monroe declined, Capote was furious. Every time he appeared on set, tension filled the air. Audrey later admitted, "I'm not a sexy, daring woman like Holly." That self-doubt took its toll. She lost significant weight. Her already slender frame grew more fragile. Yet from that fragility, Audrey created something extraordinary. She transformed Holly from a seemingly shallow girl into an icon of timeless elegance and emotional depth. The little black Givenchy dress, oversized sunglasses, pearl necklace, signature updo, every detail became a lasting symbol. Off-screen, however, Audrey's relationship with her appearance was complex. While the world idolized her as the ultimate beauty, she didn't always love what she saw in the mirror. To designer Hubert de Givenchy, though, she was an eternal muse. When they first met during Sabrina preparations, Givenchy had expected Katharine Hepburn. Instead, Audrey walked in, gentle, gracious, radiant. From that day, their partnership became legendary. Givenchy once said, "She doesn't wear my clothes, she gives them life." The unraveling. Throughout her life, Audrey was haunted by her father's abandonment. Critics suggested this trauma led her to unconsciously seek father figures in relationships. Mel Ferrer certainly played that role, controlling, shaping her career with a firm, domineering hand. After 14 years, their marriage quietly fell apart. Rumors of infidelity on both sides deepened the cracks. But here's the twist. It was after the divorce that Audrey truly began rediscovering herself. 1967, at the height of fame, she made a decision no one expected. She walked away from Hollywood. The lights, the red carpets, the acclaim, all of it suddenly felt hollow. She realized she'd lost something precious, her son Sean's childhood. Having grown up without her father's love, she feared Sean would face the same emptiness. That year, she met Andrea Dotti, an Italian psychiatrist. Charming, elegant, captivating. They married in 1970 and had a son, Luca. In the beginning, life was idyllic. Morning coffee in Rome, afternoons wandering jasmine-lined streets. But fairy tales don't exist in real life. Dotti turned out to be a notorious womanizer. Italian tabloids exploded when paparazzi exposed his affairs, claiming more than 200 women had passed through his life. Audrey didn't rage or sue. She simply withdrew, quietly, gracefully, as she always did when her heart was breaking. The return to peace. After her final screen appearances, Audrey left Hollywood for good. She moved to the Swiss village of Toulouse, settling in a modest home called Le Paisible, the Peaceful. There, she could walk her dogs along cobblestone paths without being recognized. No cameras, no red carpets, just wind, trees, and golden afternoons. In Switzerland, she met Robert Wolders, the man who brought her heart back to life. Wolders had been married to actress Merle Oberon after her death. He sold all her jewelry and donated proceeds to charity. This act of compassion deeply moved Audrey. With him, she found what she'd been searching for all her life: warmth, generosity, and love that didn't seek to control. "He didn't want to change me," Audrey said. "He just wanted me to be happy." The final mission. During a UNICEF fundraising concert, Audrey spoke about her memories of war, about the little girl who hid in bomb shelters, who fainted from hunger during the Dutch famine. Her story left audiences silent. Afterward, UNICEF's executive director approached her. He simply said, "We need you." From that moment, Audrey's life took a new direction. She became a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, traveling across dozens of countries, from Africa to Asia, bringing food, aid, and hope to starving children. This time, the lights shining on her weren't from film sets but from the blazing sun of distant, arid lands. In the way she looked at a child from Ethiopia, in the tenderness of her touch, Perhaps that was the most beautiful moment of her entire life. The ghost she couldn't escape. By the 1960s, Audrey felt an unshakable need to find her father. With the Red Cross's help, she traced Joseph Rustin to Dublin, more than 2 decades after their separation. When they finally reunited, she didn't find warmth or affection. The man standing before her was distant, cold, as if no blood tie connected them. The meeting broke her heart. Yet instead of resentment, Audrey chose forgiveness. Quietly, she supported him financially for the rest of his life. A simple act that spoke volumes about her grace. The final act, 1992. Following an arduous UNICEF mission in Somalia, Audrey began experiencing severe abdominal pain. Doctors discovered rare cancer that had been silently growing for years. She received the diagnosis with signature calm, the same strength she'd shown through war, loss, and solitude. After surgery and chemotherapy in Los Angeles failed, Hubert de Givenchy arranged a private jet to take her home to Switzerland. In her final days, Audrey chose not the spotlight but the quiet embrace of nature. Her small garden, sunlight, the sound of birds singing outside her window. On January 20, 1993, Audrey Hepburn passed away in her sleep at age 63. There were no loud cries, only the faint scent of flowers. Just as she had lived, gracefully, purely, full of compassion. The legacy: Audrey Hepburn never saw herself as a movie star, but the world did. She became an eternal symbol of elegance, empathy, and timeless beauty. With an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, she wasn't just a Hollywood legend. She was living proof of a simple truth: real beauty isn't found in appearance, but in the way one loves the world. The girl who danced through hell, the woman who chose compassion over bitterness, the icon who walked away from fame to find peace. That was Audrey Hepburn, and her light still shines.